I still remember the exact sound the water made when I realized my entire life was a lie. It wasn't the normal steady hiss of Alex's morning shower. It was louder, rhythmic, almost playful, splashing. 2 sets of feet shifting on wet tile, and then God, I can still hear it, a woman's laugh. Low, throaty, familiar in the worst possible way. Jessica's laugh. My best friend since we were 14 years old. The girl who held my hair when I threw up after prom, who flew across the country to be in the delivery room when I had both my babies, who looked me in the eyes at my wedding tears streaming down her face and told me, "Em, you deserve this happiness more than anyone I know." Her laugh, coming from inside my husband's shower. I was standing in our bedroom holding a basket of clean laundry, frozen like someone had just dumped ice water down my spine. My heart was slamming against my ribs so hard I thought I might pass out. But my hands were perfectly steady. I set that basket down so quietly the clothes didn't even rustle. Then I walked to the bathroom door. It was cracked open just enough to let the steam escape. Through the fogged glass of the shower, I could see them. His taller frame pressed behind hers, her head tilted back against his shoulder. His hand sliding down her stomach like he owned her body. Like he hadn't made vows to me in front of 200 people. Like our children weren't sleeping down the hall. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't give them the satisfaction of knowing I was there. You know what I did instead? I reached out calm as anything and turned that little knob on the doorknob. The one Alex always bitched about because it was backwards and locked from the hallway side instead of the inside. Click. That sound. That tiny, perfect click. Then I pulled the door closed, softly, deliberately, and I walked away while they kept laughing and singing in there like they didn't have a care in the world, like they hadn't just destroyed everything. I went downstairs, poured myself a glass of water with those same steady hands, and I called the one person on this planet that Alex was more terrified of than God himself. His mother, Barbara, I said when she picked up, my voice perfectly calm, perfectly controlled. "You need to come over right now. It's about Alex. Something's happened." I didn't tell her what. I didn't need to. The tone was enough. She was there in 11 minutes. I know because I counted every single one. And by the time she walked through my front door, I wasn't the woman who'd folded laundry while her husband screwed her best friend in the next room. I was something else entirely. Something cold. Something calculating. Something dangerous. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your whole heart, stay with me. Because what happened next? It wasn't just revenge. It was art. Hit that subscribe button right now, because you're not going to want to miss how this ends. Let me take you back to where this story really begins. I met Barbara at the door with my phone already in my hand, camera app open, recording. "Emily, honey, what's wrong? You look..." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my face. I wasn't crying, wasn't hysterical. I was smiling, the kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. The kind that makes people take a step back. "Come upstairs," I said quietly. "But we need to be quiet." Barbara Thompson was 62 years old, 5'0" in her sensible flats, with iron gray hair she wore in the same style she'd had since 1987. She went to church every Sunday, baked cookies for the elderly shut-ins, and ran the prayer chain with military precision. She looked like someone's sweet grandmother. She was also the most terrifying person I'd ever met. We climbed the stairs together, her hand gripping the banister, mine steady on my phone. The shower was still running, and they were singing now some ridiculous pop song Jessica and I used to scream in the car back in high school, off-key, happy, like they were on vacation instead of destroying my life in my own home. Barbara's face went absolutely white when she heard Jessica's voice mixing with her son's. I stopped outside the bathroom door and held up one finger to my lips. Wait. Right on cue, the pounding started. Alex had finally realized the door wouldn't open from the inside. Emily, the fucking lock is stuck again. Get the key." His voice was annoyed. Not panicked yet. Just irritated that his wife wasn't immediately solving his problem. I leaned close to the door and spoke just loud enough for them to hear through the wood. "There is no key, sweetheart. Just the little button on the knob, the one on the outside. The silence that followed was deafening. Then panic set in. Jessica's voice, high and shrill. "Emily? Oh my God, Em, this isn't—" I turned to Barbara and handed her my phone. Our eyes met. Something passed between us, an understanding, a shared fury that needed no words. "You should record this part," I said softly, "for the grandkids." Barbara, God bless this tiny, terrifying, church every Sunday woman, didn't even hesitate. She took my phone, hit record, and then she reached past me and unlocked the door. She opened it slowly, deliberately. Alex stumbled out first, dripping wet, a towel barely clinging to his hips. Water pooled on my hardwood floors. Jessica was right behind him, clutching a hand towel to her chest like it could somehow hide what we'd all just seen. Her mascara was running. Her lipstick, my favorite shade, the one she'd asked to borrow last month, was smeared. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Barbara looked at her son. Her only child, the boy she'd bragged about at every family reunion, every church social, every chance she got. The golden child who could do no wrong. And she said, in the quietest, deadliest voice I have ever heard in my entire life, "Alexander James Thompson, you have exactly 10 seconds to put clothes on before I drag you out of this house naked and call every single member of the church prayer chain." Jessica tried to speak. "Mrs. Thompson, I can explain, this was just—" Barbara turned to her. The look on her face could have curdled milk. "You will never speak my name again." 5 words. That's all it took. Jessica's mouth snapped shut like she'd been slapped. Alex opened his mouth, closed it, looked at me like he was seeing a stranger standing in his wife's body. Maybe he was. I just smiled wider, colder. "Hi, honey," I said sweetly, like I was greeting him after a long day at the office. Surprise. Alex's face went through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, fear, anger, desperation. And finally, the dawning realization that he had made a catastrophic mistake. Jessica was crying now, shoulders shaking, that stupid hand towel still pressed against her like armor. Barbara stood between them and me, all 5 feet of righteous fury, phone still recording every second. "Get dressed." Barbara's voice was ice. "Both of you. Then get out of my daughter-in-law's house." That was the moment everything changed. Not when I found the texts. Not when I heard them in the shower. Not even when I locked that door. It was this moment. When I stopped being the woman who got hurt and became the woman who hurt back. But if you're going to understand how perfectly this all fell apart for them, how completely I dismantled their lives, you need to know how much I gave up, how deep that knife went, and exactly how long I'd been sharpening mine. I married Alex Thompson when I was 24 years old. I was working trauma in the county hospital's emergency room, pulling 12-hour night shifts, coming home with blood under my fingernails and other people's nightmares in my head. I was good at my job. Really good. The kind of nurse who could start an IV in a coding patient while talking them down from a panic attack. The kind who worked through lunch and stayed late without being asked. I was saving lives while barely making rent. Alex was 27. Already 3 years into his career at a tech consulting firm, climbing that corporate ladder like his life depended on it. We met at a friend's barbecue. He had this smile, God, that smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room who mattered. He was charming, ambitious. He talked about his future like it was inevitable, like success was just waiting for him to show up and claim it. He told me on our 3rd date that he was going to marry me. I laughed. Thought he was joking. He wasn't. We were married 10 months later in a church his mother picked out, with flowers I didn't choose and a cake that cost more than my car. I wore white and meant every word of those vows. For better or worse, in sickness and health, till death do us part. I meant them. When I got pregnant with Lily, I was 26, still working trauma, still pulling those brutal shifts, still saving lives. But I was exhausted. Bone deep, falling asleep in the car before I could drive home exhausted. Alex sat me down one night and put his hand on my barely there belly and said, "What if you went part-time, just until the baby's a little older? I'm making good money now. We can afford it." It made sense. It was reasonable. It was what you did when you were building a family. So I went part-time. Lily came into the world screaming at the top of her lungs, all 7 pounds of fury and need. She had Alex's dark hair and my stubborn chin. I fell in love so hard and so fast it hurt. I'd held hundreds of babies in the ER, reunited them with terrified parents, wrapped them in warmed blankets, counted their fingers and toes, but this was different. This was mine. Jessica was there. Of course she was there. She'd been my best friend since we were 14, since the day she'd punched Tommy Morrison in the face for calling me fat in 8th grade. She flew in from Denver, where she was working some corporate job she hated, took a week off, and slept on our couch so she could help with night feedings. "You're a natural," she told me, watching me nurse Lily at 3 in the morning. "You got the life I was too scared to go after." I thought she meant it as a compliment. When Ethan came 2 years later, I wasn't working at all anymore. Alex had been promoted twice. We'd moved into a bigger house, his choice of neighborhood, his name on the mortgage because it's easier for the banks that way. I'd quit the ER entirely. "You're the nurturing one, Em," Alex had said, kissing my forehead like I was something precious and fragile. "I'm the provider. This is what makes sense. We're a team." And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Jessica became Aunt Jess. The cool aunt who brought presents and stayed for dinner and taught Lily how to paint her nails. She had a key to our house. She babysat when Alex and I had date nights, the ones where we'd dress up and go to expensive restaurants, and he'd hold my hand across the table and tell me he loved me. She was in every family photo, every birthday, every Christmas morning. I trusted her with my children. I trusted him with my entire life. I became the perfect wife. I meal prepped on Sundays. I kept the house immaculate toys in labeled bins, laundry folded within hours of coming out of the dryer, fresh flowers on the dining table every week. I coordinated play dates and doctor's appointments and parent-teacher conferences. I baked cookies for school events and volunteered for the PTA and smiled until my face hurt. Alex's career soared. Director. Senior director. VP of something important I never quite understood because when he talked about work, my eyes would glaze over and I'd just nod and say, "That's wonderful, honey." I stopped talking about my old job, stopped mentioning the ER. The few times I brought it up, "Remember when I worked trauma?" Alex would pat my hand and say, "Those were different times. You're doing more important work now." Raising his children, maintaining his home, being his wife. I gave up my scrubs for yoga pants and cartoon character t-shirts covered in spit-up and juice stains. I gave up my work friends for other moms at the playground who talked about organic snacks and screen time limits. I gave up my identity for his life plan. And Jessica was there for all of it. Watching. Supporting. Smiling. "You're so lucky, Em," she'd say, sipping wine on my couch while the kids played upstairs. "You have everything. The husband, the kids, the house, the life." I thought she was happy for me. I was so fucking stupid. The cracks started small. Alex working late. Again. And again. "Big project, babe. You know how it is." I'd keep his dinner warm, save him a plate, kiss him hello when he finally came home smelling like expensive scotch and someone else's perfume that I told myself was from a work dinner. Jessica stopping by more often. Just in the neighborhood. With wine. With gossip. With inside jokes that started including my husband. Little references I didn't quite get. Shared glances across the dinner table that made me feel like I was on the outside of something in my own home. "You two are so funny together," I'd said once, laughing along even though I didn't get the joke. "We just get each other," Jessica had replied, and Alex had smiled. I ignored the twisting feeling in my gut. I was tired. I was raising 2 kids under 5. I was running a household. I was being the perfect wife. I was doing everything right. I told myself I was paranoid. Hormonal. Imagining things. Until the day I wasn't. The text message appeared on a random Tuesday afternoon. Alex's phone was on the kitchen counter, charging. He was upstairs in his home office on a conference call. I was making Lily's lunch, peanut butter and jelly, crusts off, cut into triangles. The phone screen lit up. A heart eyes emoji from Jessica. Just that. Nothing else. My hand froze halfway to the bread bag. I picked up his phone. No passcode, he'd always said he had nothing to hide. I scrolled back through their messages, and my entire world tilted sideways. Months of texts. Months. Sexting. Photos I couldn't unsee no matter how hard I tried. Plans to meet when I was at Ethan's soccer practice, references to our spot, screenshots of hotel confirmations, her telling him how much she missed him telling her he couldn't wait to taste her again. Can't wait to see you Friday, Em's taking the kids to her sister's overnight. That was from Jessica. From 3 weeks ago. The night I'd told her I needed a break and Kelly had offered to take the kids so I could have some time to myself. The night Alex had said he had to work late. The night he'd come home at 2 a.m. and crawled into bed beside me smelling like sex and lies. I stood in my kitchen holding my husband's phone, peanut butter knife in my other hand, and something inside me just snapped. Not broke, snapped, like a bone setting wrong and then breaking again so it could heal properly. I didn't scream. Didn't throw the phone. Didn't run upstairs and confront him. I took screenshots. Every single message. Every photo. Every damning word. I sent them to myself from his phone. Then I deleted the sent messages from his end, carefully, methodically. I put his phone back exactly where I'd found it. I finished making Lily's lunch. Cut the sandwich into perfect triangles, put it on her favorite plate with the unicorns. Then I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and opened a private browsing window on my phone. I searched for 3 things. Best divorce attorney in the state. How to hide money from spouse. Do I need proof of adultery for divorce? I didn't confront him that day. Or the next day. Or the week after that. I smiled. I kissed him goodbye. I let Jessica come over for wine and girl talk while I plotted her destruction. I didn't confront him. I started planning. The bank was a 15-minute drive from my house. I chose one I'd never been to before, in a strip mall on the other side of town where nobody knew me. Where I wouldn't run into another soccer mom or someone from the PTA who'd want to chat about the spring fundraiser. I walked in wearing sunglasses, even though it was overcast. Told the account manager my name was Emily Chen, my maiden name, the one I'd given up when I became Mrs. Thompson, the one I'd almost forgotten existed. I'd like to open a checking account, I said. Just in my name. She smiled that professional smile they teach in banking school. Of course. Are you looking to add your spouse to the account? No. The word came out harder than I intended. Just me. She didn't even blink. Probably saw situations like mine every day, women preparing to leave, women building escape routes. I deposited $200 in cash money I'd skimmed from the grocery budget over the previous 2 weeks. Alex never looked at receipts. I could tell him milk cost $8 and he'd just nod and go back to his phone. That was his first mistake. I'd been handling our bills for 7 years, every mortgage payment, every utility, every credit card statement. Alex made the money, but I moved it around. He trusted me completely. That was his second mistake. I started small. $20 here, $50 there. Nothing that would trigger alerts or make him look twice at the account balance. I'd transfer it to my new account using the bank's app, then immediately delete the notification emails before they synced to his phone. The grocery budget was easy. I'd always been the kind of wife who clipped coupons, who price matched, who made 3 meals out of a rotisserie chicken. Now I just kept doing that, but instead of putting the savings back into our joint account, I kept it. Alex wanted organic produce. I bought regular and pocketed the difference. He wanted name brand cereal. Generic boxes looked the same once you took them out of the packaging. Every week, another $100, sometimes more. I opened a credit card in my maiden name, started buying things we needed: toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning supplies on that card, then paying it off immediately with cash. Built up my own credit score, my own financial footprint. Alex never noticed. I'd lie in bed next to him at night, his arm thrown over my waist like he owned me, and calculate in my head. If I could save $300 a week, that was $1,200 a month. In 3 months, I'd have enough for a good retainer. In 6 months, I could cover first and last month's rent somewhere if I needed to leave fast. But I wasn't planning to leave. I was planning to make him leave. I kept a notebook hidden in the bottom of my tampon box because God knows Alex would never look there. In it, I tracked every dollar, every transaction. Every lie it took to build my freedom. Week 1, $287. Week 2, $340. Week 3, $265. Ethan's field trip. Had to be careful. Week 4, $412. Alex had a business dinner. Came home at 2 a.m. That last one I wrote in red ink. By the end of month 1, I had $1,304 in my secret account, money that was mine, money he couldn't touch, money that represented something more than dollars, it represented power. Alex came home from work one evening in week 6, kissed my forehead and said, "You're so good with money, babe. I don't know what I'd do without you managing everything." I smiled up at him. Just doing my part. He had no idea that while he was fucking my best friend in hotel rooms downtown, I was systematically bleeding our joint account to build my own war chest. That every time he told me he loved me, I was calculating how much his next business trip would cost him, because I'd add an extra $200 to my stash that week. By month 2, I had just over $3,000. Enough for a consultation with a lawyer, enough for a retainer if she took payment plans, enough to start building a case. By month 3, I had $8,247. I sat in my car in that bank parking lot, the one on the other side of town where nobody knew me, and looked at the balance on my phone. $8,247. My money. My escape fund. My fuck you money. I started the car and drove home to make dinner for the man who was betraying me and the children we'd made together. I'd planned pot roast, his favorite. I'd smile when he walked in the door. I'd ask about his day. I'd pretend I didn't know. But in the back of my mind, a number kept running. $8,247. The exact amount of my first victory. Alex never looked closely at the money. That was his third and biggest mistake. Jennifer Morrison's office was on the 43rd floor of a glass building downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern art that probably cost more than my car. A receptionist who looked like she moonlighted as a fashion model. This was going to be expensive, but I didn't care. I'd done my research, spent hours on my phone after the kids went to bed, lying next to Alex in the dark, reading reviews of divorce attorneys. Jennifer Morrison had a reputation. She was a shark, a closer, the lawyer you hired when you wanted to win and didn't care about playing nice. She got a CEO to pay his ex-wife 70% of his assets. One review read, "He cheated with his secretary. Jennifer made him pay." That's what I needed. Someone who understood that this wasn't just about dividing property, this was about making him hurt the way he'd hurt me. The consultation cost $500. I paid it from my secret account, in cash, handed over in an envelope, like I was hiring a hitman instead of a lawyer. Maybe I was. Jennifer was 40-something, blonde, impeccably dressed in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget used to be. She had kind eyes but a handshake that could crush bones. "Tell me everything," she said, pouring us both water from a crystal pitcher. "And I mean everything. Don't leave anything out because you think it's embarrassing or not important. I need the whole story." So I told her. I told her about the texts, the photos, the months of planning hotel meetups while I was at soccer practice with our kids. I told her about Jessica, my best friend, the woman I trusted with my children. I told her about finding the heart eyes emoji and scrolling back through a history of betrayal that made my stomach turn. Jennifer took notes. Didn't react. Just wrote in neat, efficient handwriting while I spilled my guts. When I finished, she looked up at me. "Do you want to destroy him, or do you want a fair settlement?" The question hung in the air between us. "What's the difference?" I asked. She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "A fair settlement is 50-50. Community property state, you'd split assets, share custody, move on with your lives. Clean, professional." She paused. "Destroying him means we prove fault. We document everything. We use the adultery as leverage. We go for full custody, primary physical placement, child support, alimony, the house, his retirement accounts. We make sure everyone, his family, his employer, his friends, knows exactly what kind of man he is. We make it so expensive and so painful that he'll remember it for the rest of his life." I didn't even hesitate. Destroy him. Jennifer's smile widened. Good. That's what I like to hear. Now here's what we're going to do. She laid it out like a military campaign. Document everything, every late night, every unexplained charge on the credit cards, every time he said he'd be somewhere and wasn't. Get phone records if possible, emails, screenshots of everything. You said you already have texts? She asked. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots. Dozens of them. Months of evidence. She whistled low. This is good, really good, but we need more. We need to catch them in the act if possible. Photos, video, something undeniable that he can't explain away as she misunderstood or we were just talking. How do I do that? I asked. You let them get comfortable, Jennifer said. Right now, they think they're being careful. But comfortable people get sloppy. They take risks. They get careless. You keep playing the oblivious wife. You smile. You don't confront. You don't give them any reason to think you know. My skin crawled at the thought of pretending for even one more day. I know it's hard, Jennifer continued, reading my face. But this is a long game. If you confront him now, he'll hide assets, he'll move money, he'll get his own lawyer and we'll be fighting an uphill battle. If you wait, if you build an airtight case, we bury him in court. He won't know what hit him. How long? I asked. However long it takes to get what we need. A month. 3 months. 6. Can you do that? I thought about Alex's hand on Jessica's stomach through the shower glass. I thought about the texts, the lies, the years I'd given up my career, my identity, my life to build his dream. I can do it, I said. Jennifer nodded. Good. Now my retainer is $15,000. My heart sank. I had $8,000. Nowhere near enough. But, she continued, seeing my face, I can work with you. You pay what you can now, the rest in installments. We don't file anything until you're paid up. Deal? I pulled out the envelope. $8,000 in cash. 3 months of skimming grocery money and hiding $20 bills. Jennifer counted it, wrote me a receipt, and shook my hand. Welcome to the war, Emily. We're going to win this. I walked out of her office feeling different. Lighter. Like I'd just enlisted in an army I didn't even know existed. I had a lawyer, a plan, a strategy. I had a weapon, and Alex and Jessica had no idea what was coming. I drove home to make dinner, chicken parmesan, another favorite, and when Alex walked in the door that night, I kissed him hello just like I always did. But this time, I knew something he didn't. I had Jennifer Morrison on my side. Victory number 2, locked and loaded. The camera arrived at my neighbor Linda's house on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd ordered it from Amazon using my new credit card, the one in my maiden name, and had it shipped next door. Told Linda I was buying Alex a surprise birthday gift and didn't want him seeing the package. She didn't even question it. Just handed me the box with a smile and a, "You're such a thoughtful wife, Emily." If she only knew. The camera itself was smaller than I expected, barely bigger than a USB drive, disguised as a phone charger. You could plug it into any outlet and it would look completely normal, just another charger in a house full of devices that always needed power. I waited until Alex took the kids to the park on Saturday morning. He'd been trying to be present lately, probably guilt making him act like father of the year. I told him I had a headache and needed quiet. He kissed my forehead and told me to rest. The second they pulled out of the driveway, I was upstairs. I installed it in our bedroom, plugged into the outlet behind my nightstand, angled it just right so it had a clear view of the bed, the doorway, and part of the bathroom entrance. Tested it 3 times with my phone to make sure the angle was perfect. Downloaded the app, set up cloud backup so nothing could be deleted even if they somehow found and destroyed the camera. Remote access meant I could check the footage from anywhere: my phone, Linda's house, the grocery store. I could watch my own bedroom in real time from the parking lot at Ethan's soccer practice. The paranoia part of me thought I should install more, 1 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen, turn my whole house into a surveillance state. But Jennifer's voice echoed in my head. We only need 1 good piece of evidence. Quality over quantity. 1 camera in the bedroom would be enough. If they were stupid enough to betray me in my own home, in my own bed, I'd have it on video. I didn't actually expect to catch them there. They'd been meeting at hotels, nice ones, downtown, where they could pretend they were having an affair worthy of a romance novel instead of just being trash humans who couldn't keep their hands off each other. The camera was insurance, that's all. But insurance has a funny way of paying out when you least expect it. Every night for the next 3 weeks, I checked the footage. Every single night after Alex fell asleep, I'd take my phone into the bathroom, lock the door, and scroll through the day's recordings on fast forward. Empty room. Empty room. Me making the bed, me folding laundry, Alex getting dressed for work, me vacuuming. Nothing. Just the mundane reality of a life I was preparing to burn down. But I kept checking, kept watching, building a fortress they didn't even know existed. Week 4. I checked the footage from a Wednesday afternoon, the day I'd taken the kids to their dentist appointments. 2 hours out of the house, door to door. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m. The bedroom door opened. Alex walked in. Alone. I felt my chest unclench. Just him grabbing something he'd forgotten. Nothing. Then Jessica walked in behind him. My thumb froze on the screen. They were laughing about something. She pushed him onto the bed, our bed, the one I slept in every goddamn night, and climbed on top of him, started kissing him like she owned him. I sat on the closed toilet lid in my bathroom at 11 o'clock at night, watching my husband fuck my best friend in my bed while my children slept down the hall, and I didn't make a sound. I just watched. And I saved the video to 3 different cloud services. I sent it to an email address I'd created specifically for evidence. Subject line, Exhibit A. Then I walked back to bed, climbed in next to Alex, and went to sleep. The next morning at breakfast, Jessica texted asking if she could stop by for coffee that afternoon. Of course, I texted back, I'd love to see you. I made her favorite hazelnut with too much cream, and we sat on my couch talking about her terrible dating life while I smiled and nodded and mentally calculated how many different ways I was going to destroy her. The camera kept recording. Victory number 3. Evidence secured. The fortress was built. 3 months. I smiled at breakfast for 3 months while planning his destruction. Every morning, Alex would come downstairs in his expensive suit, the navy one I'd picked out, that I'd paid for with our joint credit card, that made him look important and successful. He'd kiss the top of my head while I scrambled eggs. He'd ruffle Ethan's hair. He'd tell Lily she looked pretty. He'd look at me and say, "Love you, babe." And I'd say it back, "Love you too." My lips tasted like lies. Like rot. Like 3 months of swallowing poison and smiling through it. I deserve an Oscar for those 3 months. Jessica came over for wine nights every Wednesday. We'd sit on my couch, in my house, drinking wine I'd bought, and she'd tell me about her life. Her job stress. Her dating app disasters. How hard it was to find a good man these days. "You're so lucky you have Alex," she'd say, glass halfway to her lips. "He's one of the good ones." I'd nod, sip my wine. "Yeah, I really am lucky." Inside, I was screaming. Inside, I was watching that bedroom footage on repeat, her on top of him, his hands in her hair, both of them in my bed like I didn't exist, like I was nothing. But outside? Outside, I was Emily Thompson. Perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect friend. "You're such a good friend." Jessica said one night, a little drunk, getting emotional. "I don't deserve you." I smiled at her. Topped off her wine glass. "You really don't," I said. She laughed. Thought I was joking. I wasn't. There was this one dinner god, I'll never forget it. Alex had invited Jessica to join us for Friday night takeout. "She's basically family," he'd said. "The kids loved having Aunt Jess there. We ordered Thai food, sat around our dining table like a normal, happy family. And I watched them, really watched them. The way Jessica's hand would brush against Alex's when she passed him the spring rolls. The way his eyes lingered on her just a second too long. The way they had this whole silent conversation happening across my dinner table while I spooned pad thai onto Lily's plate and asked Ethan about his spelling test. They were texting each other. Right there, in front of me. I saw Alex's phone light up with a notification. Saw him glance at it. Saw the small smile that played at his lips. Saw him type something back under the table while pretending to listen to Lily's story about recess. Jessica's phone buzzed 30 seconds later. She checked it. Bit her lip to hide a smile. I asked if anyone wanted more water. The rage inside me was a living thing, a beast clawing at my chest, demanding to be let out. Demanding I flip this table, throw these plates, scream until my throat bled, but I didn't. I got everyone more water. I asked about dessert. I laughed at Alex's stupid joke. I was so fucking calm I scared myself. The kids started asking questions around week 8. "Mommy, why do you look sad?" Lily asked one morning while I was braiding her hair. I forced brightness into my voice. "I'm not sad, sweetie. Just tired." "You're always tired now," she said, too observant for a 6-year-old. "Growing kids is exhausting work," I told her, kissing her head. "But I'm happy. I promise." Another lie to add to the pile. Ethan was quieter about it. He'd just watch me sometimes with these big, serious eyes. 4 years old and he could already sense something was wrong. Kids always know. They can feel the tension even when you think you're hiding it. "Is Daddy making you sad?" he asked one night while I tucked him in. The question hit me like a physical blow. "No, baby," I whispered. "Mommy's just going through some grown-up stuff. But I'm okay, I promise." He hugged me so tight I thought my heart would crack. "I love you, Mommy. I love you too. So much." That's what kept me going. Not revenge. Not justice. My kids. They deserved better than a father who fucked around, better than a mother who fell apart. They deserved stability and truth and a parent who was strong enough to do the hard thing. Every smile was a countdown. Every kiss goodbye was marking time. Every "I love you" that I forced past my lips was another day closer to the end. Alex started working even later. "Big project," he'd say. "You understand, right, babe?" "Of course," I'd say. "I'll keep dinner warm." He'd come home smelling like her, like hotel soap and sex and betrayal. He'd shower, always shower. Before climbing into bed next to me, I'd lie there in the dark, his arm around my waist, and imagine what it would feel like when this was finally over, when I could stop pretending, when I could look at him and let him see the hatred in my eyes. But not yet. Jennifer's words, "Comfortable people get sloppy." So I kept them comfortable. I kept smiling. Month 3, week 2, Alex mentioned he had a client dinner on Thursday. Would be late. Maybe really late. "No problem," I said. "I'll probably just take the kids to Kelly's anyway. Have a sister night." His face lit up. Too eager. "Oh yeah? That sounds nice. You deserve a break." He texted Jessica 7 minutes later. I know because I'd installed spyware on his phone 2 weeks prior, another $500 from my secret account, another tool in my arsenal. The text read, "She's taking the kids to her sister's Thursday. We can have the whole night." Jessica's response, "Can't wait, baby." I sat at my kitchen table, my children playing in the next room, reading these texts in real time, and I knew this was it. This was my moment. Thursday was 4 days away. 4 more days of smiling, 4 more days of pretending. And then I was done. I called Kelly, told her I needed her to take the kids Thursday night. Didn't explain why. She heard something in my voice, something cold and final, and didn't ask questions. "Whatever you need, Em. I've got them." I called Jennifer. "It's happening Thursday. They're planning to be at my house while I'm supposedly gone." "Perfect," she said. "Don't be gone. Be smart. Get proof." I called Barbara, didn't tell her why yet. Just, "Are you free Thursday evening? I might need you." "Of course, dear. Anything for you." 4 more days. The countdown was almost over. I need to tell you about Barbara Thompson. Because none of this works, none of it without understanding who she was and why she was the perfect weapon. I met her before I met Alex. Technically, at that friend's barbecue where Alex and I were introduced, she was there. Tiny woman in a floral dress, talking about her church's bake sale, looking like someone's sweet grandmother. She'd taken one look at me and said, "You're too pretty for my son. Don't let him take that for granted." I'd laughed, thinking she was joking. At our wedding, my wedding, the one where I promised forever to her only child, Barbara pulled me aside during the reception. She was a little drunk on champagne, which was the only time I ever saw her even remotely not in complete control. She took my hands in hers and said, "Emily, you're too good for him. I love my son, but I know what he is. Make him earn you. Every single day." I should have listened to her then. Barbara was old school in every sense. Church every Sunday without fail. Prayer chain coordinator for 15 years. She knew everyone in Alex's life, every family member, every childhood friend, every business contact. Her social network was vast and powerful in ways that people under 50 didn't understand. Getting shunned by Barbara Thompson meant getting shunned by 3 churches, 4 community organizations, and about 200 people who respected her opinion more than God's. Sunday dinners were mandatory. Every week, we'd pack up the kids and drive to her house. She'd have pot roast or ham, always with the good china, always with grace before the meal. Alex would sit at the head of the table like he was lord of the manor, and Barbara would watch him with this expression I couldn't quite read. Pride, yes, but also disappointment. Like she'd expected more from him and kept being let down. "Alexander." She'd say, "Never, Alex." Always his full name. "Are you being good to your wife?" "Of course." "Mom," he'd answer, grinning that charming grin. Barbara's eyes would slide to me, questioning. And I'd smile and nod because I didn't know yet, because I still believed in the fairy tale. The last Sunday dinner before I found the texts, Barbara cornered me in her kitchen while I was helping with dishes. "Are you happy, Emily?" The question caught me off guard. "Of course. Why would you ask?" "Because you look tired." And not just new mother tired, soul tired. I'd laughed it off, just adjusting to being a stay-at-home mom, I guess. She'd touched my cheek, looked at me with those sharp, seeing eyes. "If he ever doesn't treat you right, you tell me. You hear? He's my son, but you're my daughter now, and daughters come first." I'd hugged her, thought she was just being sweet. I didn't realize until later that she'd been trying to warn me, that she'd seen something in Alex, some selfish streak, some entitlement that I'd been too in love to notice. Barbara had built her entire life around respectability, her reputation, her standing in the community. She'd raised Alex in the church, taught him right from wrong, sacrificed for him to go to the best schools. And he'd grown up thinking he was special, entitled, believing that rules were for other people. Barbara's biggest disappointment wasn't that Alex was successful. It was that success had made him cocky, had made him think he could do whatever he wanted without consequences. She'd told me once, I didn't raise him to be cruel, but somewhere along the way, he learned it anyway. She was terrified of humiliation, of scandal, of people talking about her family in hushed voices at church socials. But you know what Barbara was more terrified of than scandal? Being the mother who raised a man who'd hurt a good woman, being the mother who chose her son over what was right. That's why I knew she'd help me. Because when I called her that Thursday afternoon and said, "It's about Alex. Something's happened," she didn't ask what. She didn't hesitate. She just said, "I'm coming," and hung up. She arrived in 11 minutes. Would have been faster, but she drove the speed limit because that's who Barbara was, a woman who followed the rules, who believed in right and wrong with absolute certainty. Alex was more terrified of his mother than God himself, and I was about to weaponize that fear. When I handed her my phone and said, "You should record this." For the grandkids, she didn't question it, didn't ask why, just took the phone and hit record because she trusted me, because I was the good one. The one who'd given up everything, the one who'd loved her son even when he maybe didn't deserve it. The look on Barbara's face when she heard Jessica's voice in that shower, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. Not anger, not yet. Just this deep, bone-deep disappointment that was somehow worse. Alexander James. 3 words in that deadly quiet voice, and I watched my husband crumble. Because he could lie to me. He could lie to Jessica. He could lie to himself. But he couldn't lie to his mother. Barbara was my nuclear option, my ace in the hole. The one person whose disapproval would hurt him more than any lawyer, any divorce settlement, any custody arrangement ever could. And she delivered. Pastor John on speakerphone, the church prayer chain, changing her will, moving into my house to help with the kids while her son lived in a studio apartment alone. She chose me over him because I'd been right. Because she'd raised him better than this. because being complicit in his cruelty would have destroyed her more than losing him ever could. "I'm so sorry, Emily," she'd said that first night, hugging me until I couldn't breathe. "I raised him better than this." "I know you did," I'd whispered back. "That's why I called you." Barbara Thompson, my secret weapon. Victory eternal. Thursday morning arrived with perfect fall weather. Sunny, cool, the kind of day that makes you think everything's going to be fine. It wasn't. Alex's text came at 10:47 a.m. "Client dinner tonight, probably won't be home until late, love you." I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. "No problem, have fun." The heart emoji felt like swallowing glass. Jessica's text arrived 40 minutes later. I hate to ask, but my heat's out, and the landlord can't fix it until tomorrow. Any chance I could crash at your place tonight? I'll bring wine." So predictable. So perfectly, pathetically predictable. I typed back immediately, "Oh my God, yes, of course. I'm actually taking the kids to Kelly's for the night anyway. She's been begging for quality time with them. You'll have the whole place to yourself. Mi casa es su casa." Her response, "You're seriously the best friend ever. I owe you so much." I set my phone down and laughed. Actually laughed out loud in my empty kitchen. Ugly, bitter laughter that sounded like something breaking. She had no idea how much she was about to owe me. I went through my day like normal. Made breakfast, got the kids dressed, took them to school, came home and did laundry, made shopping lists, texted Alex about what he wanted for dinner over the weekend. All normal, all fine, all a lie. At 3 p.m., I picked up the kids from school and drove them to Kelly's house across town. My sister met me at the door with a concerned look. What's really going on?" The kids ran inside, already fighting over which movie to watch. Kelly crossed her arms and waited. "I'm handling something," I said carefully. "I need you to keep the kids tonight. All night. Don't call me unless it's an absolute emergency. Can you do that?" Kelly had known me for 34 years. She'd been there for every breakup, every bad decision, every triumph. She looked at me now and saw something in my face that made her step back. "What are you going to do?" "Something I should have done 3 months ago. Emily." "Trust me," I said. "Please, just trust me." She pulled me into a hug. "Call me when it's over." "I will." I kissed my babies goodbye. Lily clung to me a little longer than usual. "I love you, Mommy. I love you too, baby girl. Be good for Aunt Kelly." The drive home took 20 minutes. I spent it breathing. Just breathing. In and out. Keeping myself calm. Keeping myself controlled. Because if I let the rage out now, I'd miss my moment. I pulled into my driveway at 4:30 p.m., sent Alex a text. "At Kelly's with the kids. Have a great dinner. Don't work too hard." His response? "Thanks, babe. You're the best." Then I went inside my house that would soon be a crime scene, and turned off all the lights. I sat in the living room in complete darkness. Didn't turn on the TV. Didn't check my phone. Just sat in my favorite chair, the reading chair I'd picked out at a furniture store 3 years ago, that I'd nursed both babies in, that held all these memories of a life that was about to end. 4 hours. I sat there for 4 hours. Watching the sun set through the front window, watching the shadows lengthen, watching the neighborhood lights come on one by one. I've never been more patient in my entire life. My phone buzzed around 7:15. "Jennifer, you ready?" Me. "Yes." "Jennifer, remember, stay calm, document everything, call me when it's done." Me. "I will." Another text. "Barbara, I'm ready when you need me." Me. "Soon." The rage inside me wasn't hot anymore. It had burned so long it had gone cold, frozen. Absolute zero. The kind of cold that shatters things when you touch them. I thought about every lie. Every text. Every time he'd kissed me goodbye and gone to meet her. Every wine night where she'd sat on my couch and pretended to be my friend. Every time I'd trusted them with my life, my kids, my heart. Every single betrayal. And I sat in the dark and waited. At 8:47 p.m., I heard a car in the driveway. Headlights swept across my living room wall. I didn't move. Alex's car. I'd recognize the sound of that Audi anywhere, the one I'd helped him pick out. that I'd paid for half of with our joint account. Doors opening, closing, voices, laughter. They thought I was 30 minutes away. They thought they had all night. They thought wrong. I heard the front door open, heard them stumbling in the entryway, heard Jessica's drunk giggle, she was always a lightweight, and Alex's low laugh in response. Em never drinks enough to really let loose, Jessica said. She's always so controlled. She's exactly what I needed when I needed it, Alex replied. But you're what I want. I sat in the dark 10 feet away and felt something inside me die. Not my love for him that had died weeks ago. Something else. Some last piece of my old self that had wanted to believe this was all a misunderstanding. Some naive part that had hoped, stupidly, that there was an explanation. There wasn't. There was just this. Him saying I was convenient while wanting her instead. I watched their shadows move toward the stairs, heard them climbing, heard the shower start running. I looked at my phone. 8:52 p.m. Time to move. I stood up, grabbed the laundry basket I'd prepared earlier, loaded with clean clothes for authenticity, took a breath, and walked upstairs to end my marriage. The trap was set. Victory number 4. Locked and loaded. They came through my front door at 8:47 p.m. like they owned the place. I watched from my chair in the darkness as Alex fumbled with his keys, Jessica pressed against his back, both of them giggling like teenagers. His hand was already on her ass before the door was fully open. She was wearing that dress, the red one I'd complimented her on last month, the one that had "fuck me" written all over it. Apparently, it had been a message meant for my husband all along. They stumbled into the entryway. Alex kicked the door shut behind them without even checking if it latched properly. Sloppy. So fucking sloppy. God, I've been thinking about this all week, Jessica said, her voice breathy and eager. Same. Alex pulled her against him, kissing her neck. Em's gone all night. We have hours. My fingernails dug into the arms of my chair. Hours. They'd planned for hours. Jessica pulled back slightly. You're sure she took the kids to her sister's? Positive. She texted me an hour ago with a selfie of them there. She has no idea. I had sent that selfie. From Kelly's driveway. Before I came home, they moved through my living room past where I sat frozen and silent in the dark, heading toward the stairs. Jessica's hand was in Alex's back pocket. His arm was around her waist. They looked like a couple, like they belonged together. In my house. I need a drink first, Jessica said, laughing. Liquid courage. You don't need courage for what I'm about to do to you, Alex replied, and my stomach turned over. They detoured to the kitchen. I heard the refrigerator open. Wine being poured. More giggling. The clink of glasses. To finally having a whole night, Alex said. To your incredibly oblivious wife, Jessica replied. They toasted. They fucking toasted to me being stupid. I remained perfectly still in my chair, a statue carved from ice and rage, while they drank my wine and celebrated their affair in my kitchen. After what felt like forever but was probably 5 minutes, they headed upstairs. I counted to 60. Slow. Deliberate. Then I stood up, grabbed my laundry basket, the one I'd staged with clean clothes earlier, the one that made my presence upstairs look natural and domestic. My hands were steady. I climbed my stairs like I'd done 10,000 times before, one step at a time, silent in my bare feet on carpet I'd picked out, in a house I'd made a home. I could hear them now. The shower running, water splashing, laughing. They were singing. Some pop song from our high school days. Jessica and I used to belt it out in my car with the windows down, screaming lyrics about love and freedom and being young. Now she was singing it in my shower with my husband. I reached the top of the stairs. Walked down the hallway past Lily's room with its princess posters, past Ethan's room with toy cars scattered on the floor, past the life I'd built for my children. The bathroom door was cracked open. Steam was pouring out into the hallway, making everything hazy and dreamlike. But this wasn't a dream. This was real. This was happening. I set the laundry basket down silently and stepped closer to the door. Through the fogged glass of the shower, I could see them, crystal clear despite the steam, Alex's taller frame pressed behind Jessica's smaller one. Her head tilted back against his shoulder, water streaming over both of them, his hand sliding down her stomach, lower, possessive. She arched into him, moaned his name. He kissed her neck, her shoulder, his other hand tangled in her wet hair. They looked good together. Natural. Like they'd been doing this so long they'd developed a rhythm. A routine. How many times had it been? How many times had they done this in hotels, in her apartment, in places I didn't even know about? How many times had he touched her the way he used to touch me? I stood there for 30 seconds, just watching, memorizing every detail. Not because I needed to, I had the nanny cam footage saved in 3 places, but because I wanted to remember this moment. The moment I stopped being a wife and became something else entirely. Then I reached out. My hand found the lock on the doorknob, the old-fashioned kind that locks from the outside. Alex had always bitched about it being backwards, said we needed to replace it. I'd always agreed. Thank God we never did. My fingers closed around the small knob. I turned it. Click. That sound. That perfect, tiny, devastating click. The sound of a trap closing. The sound of their whole world about to end. I pulled the door shut. Gently, carefully, making sure it latched completely. They didn't even notice. Still singing, still laughing, still fucking in my shower like they had all the time in the world. I picked up the laundry basket and walked away. Down the hall, down the stairs, into the kitchen where their wine glasses still sat on the counter. Lipstick print on hers, his fingerprints on the stem. I poured myself a glass of water with hands that didn't shake. Drank it slowly. Set the glass in the sink. Then I pulled out my phone and made the call that would change everything. "Barbara," I said when she answered. My voice was perfectly calm, perfectly controlled, the voice of someone who had absolutely nothing left to lose. "You need to come over right now. It's about Alex. Something's happened." I didn't say what. I didn't need to. The tone said everything. "I'm on my way," she said immediately. I hung up. Checked my watch. 9:04 p.m. Checked the nanny cam app on my phone. Still recording. Crystal clear footage of them in the shower. Timestamp, visible in the corner. Checked my other camera, the one I'd installed in the bedroom last week when I knew this was coming. Also recording. Every angle covered. Every second documented. Every piece of evidence secured. I sat down at my kitchen table and waited. Upstairs, the shower was still running. They were still singing, still oblivious, still trapped. Victory number 5, door locked. No escape. And the best part, they had no idea yet. They would soon. Barbara would make sure of it. Barbara arrived in 11 minutes and 37 seconds. I know because I watched the clock on my phone count every second while I stood at my front door, camera app already open, ready to record the moment that would destroy everything Alex had built. I heard her car before I saw it, that sensible Honda Civic she'd been driving for 15 years because it's practical and paid off. She pulled into my driveway like she was coming over for Sunday dinner, calm, steady, completely in control. That's who Barbara was. A woman who didn't panic, who assessed situations and handled them with surgical precision. I met her at the door before she could knock. "Emily, honey, what's wrong?" "You look." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my face. I wasn't crying, wasn't panicking. I was smiling, the kind of smile that didn't reach my eyes. The kind that made people take a step back because they recognized something dangerous. "Come upstairs," I said quietly, handing her my phone with the camera already recording. "But we need to be very quiet." Barbara took my phone without question. She looked at me, really looked at me, and something passed between us. An understanding, a shared knowledge that whatever happened next was going to be nuclear. "Who's up there?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your son," I said. "And Jessica." Barbara's face went absolutely white. Not just pale, white, like all the blood had drained out of her body. "Jessica. Your Jessica? Your best friend Jessica?" "That's the one." "In your house?" "In my shower," I clarified. "They thought I was at my sister's for the night." Barbara's jaw clenched. Her hand tightened around my phone. "That boy," she said, voice trembling with fury. "That boy is going to learn what shame feels like." We climbed the stairs together. Slowly, deliberately. Every step was measured. Controlled. Two women on a mission to deliver consequences. The shower was still running. And they were still singing that same stupid pop song, now transitioning into another. Off-key and happy and completely fucking oblivious to the fact that their world was about to implode. Barbara's face went from white to red when she heard Jessica's voice mixing with her son's. Her free hand gripped the stair railing so hard her knuckles turned white. "That's her?" she hissed. "That's her. In your shower. With my son. While you were supposed to be gone." "While I was supposed to be gone," I confirmed. We reached the top of the stairs. The bathroom door was still closed, still locked from the outside, still trapping them in their own stupidity. Barbara stopped, listening. You could hear everything. The water, the singing, the occasional laugh, the unmistakable sounds of two people who thought they were alone and safe to do whatever they wanted. "How long?" Barbara asked. "At least 6 months that I know of. Probably longer." 6 months? She repeated it like she couldn't quite believe it. 6 months of this and you didn't tell me? "I needed proof," I said simply. "Now I have it." Right on cue, the pounding started. Alex must have finally tried the door. Must have realized it wouldn't open from the inside. Must have finally felt the first tiny stirring of panic. Emily, the fucking lock is stuck again. Get the key." His voice was annoyed. Irritated. Like this was just another household inconvenience I needed to fix for him. Like he wasn't currently in the shower with my best friend, naked and wet and caught. I walked to the door. Leaned close enough for my voice to carry through. "There is no key, sweetheart. Just the little button on the knob, the one on the outside." Silence. Complete and total silence. Then realization set in. "Emily?" Jessica's voice now high and shrill and scared. "Oh my God, this isn't, we were just..." I turned to Barbara. Held out my hand for my phone. She gave it back to me, then took hers out of her purse. We both hit record. "You should record this part too," I said to her. "For the grandkids." Barbara didn't smile. Didn't blink. Just kept recording while her face showed every emotion at once: betrayal, disappointment, rage, disgust. Then she reached past me and unlocked the door. She didn't slam it open. Didn't kick it. Just turned the knob slowly, deliberately, and pulled. Alex stumbled out first. Dripping wet, water pooling on my hardwood floors. He'd grabbed a towel, but it was barely covering him, clutched desperately to his hips like modesty mattered now. Jessica was right behind him, naked except for a hand towel pressed against her chest. Her hair was plastered to her head, her mascara waterproof. The expensive kind I'd recommended to her was running in black streaks down her face. The lipstick I'd complimented was smeared across her mouth and chin. She looked like a nightmare. Like every woman's worst fear made flesh. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. We just stood there, me and Barbara on one side, Alex and Jessica on the other, with steam still pouring out of my shower and water dripping on my floor, and the weight of 6 months of lies hanging between us. Then Barbara looked at her son, her only child, her golden boy, the one she'd sacrificed for, prayed for, loved unconditionally for 34 years. And she said, in the quietest, deadliest voice I have ever heard, "Alexander James Thompson, you have exactly 10 seconds to put clothes on before I drag you out of this house naked and call every single member of the church prayer chain." Alex's face went through every emotion: shock, fear, embarrassment, desperation. He opened his mouth like he was going to explain, to justify, to make this somehow not what it obviously was. Barbara held up one finger. 10. 9. 10. Mom. 8. 7. Jessica tried to speak. "Mrs. Thompson, I can explain. This was just, we didn't mean it wasn't supposed to." Barbara turned to her. The look on her face could have frozen hell. "You will never speak my name again." 5 words. Simple, direct, devastating. Jessica's mouth snapped shut like she'd been slapped. Fresh tears started streaming down her face, mixing with the mascara, creating these black rivers that dripped onto my carpet. Alex finally found his voice. Mom, it's not what it looks like. 6, 5. We just, 4. It was a mistake. 3. Barbara hadn't raised her voice, hadn't moved, was just standing there counting down while holding her phone up, recording every second, every word, every pathetic attempt at explanation. Alex looked at me for the first time. Really looked at me. Saw something in my face that made him step back. He said. Baby, we can fix this. We can. I smiled at him. That same cold, dead smile I'd been practicing for 3 months. Hi, honey, I said sweetly. Surprise. That's when he realized. Really, truly realized. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't me coming home early and catching them. This was planned, orchestrated. A trap I'd built and baited and waited for them to walk into. His face went gray. You knew, he whispered. You knew we'd be here. Of course I knew. You're not as smart as you think you are. Neither of you. Jessica made this sound, this broken animal sound, and sank down to sit on my bathroom floor, still clutching that stupid hand towel. Get dressed. Barbara's voice cut through everything. Both of you. Then get out of my daughter-in-law's house. You have 5 minutes. Mom! Please. 4 minutes and 55 seconds, Alexander. I'd never heard her yell before. Not in 7 years of knowing her. Not once. Alex ran to our bedroom, his bedroom, I guess, for these last few minutes before it became just mine. Jessica stumbled after him, leaving wet footprints on the carpet. Barbara and I stood in the hallway. Waiting. Recording. Witnessing. Thank you, I said quietly. Barbara looked at me with tears in her eyes. You deserved so much better than him. I know, I said. That's why I called you. That was the moment everything changed. Not when I found the texts. Not when I heard them in the shower. Not even when I locked that door. It was this moment. When his mother chose me over him. When he realized that destroying me meant destroying himself. When he learned that some prices are too high to pay. They came out of the bedroom 7 minutes later. Alex was wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt, his hair still dripping wet, leaving dark spots on the fabric. Jessica had pulled on the clothes she'd arrived in, that red dress, now wrinkled and askew, her bare feet leaving damp prints on the floor because apparently she hadn't brought shoes. Good. Let her walk out barefoot. Let the neighbors see. Mom! Alex started. His voice was shaking. Please, let me explain. There is nothing to explain, Alexander. Barbara had her phone out again. Not recording this time. Dialing. Who are you calling? Alex asked, panic creeping into his voice. Pastor John. Mom, don't. But she was already putting it on speaker. The phone rang twice before a kindly older voice answered. Barbara? Is everything all right? It's rather late. Pastor John, I need you to pray for my son. Barbara's voice was shaking, but not with fear. With rage. He has been fornicating with his wife's best friend, in his wife's home, while his children's mother was supposed to be gone. I need you to pray for his soul because I am about to disown him. Silence on the other end of the phone. Then, Barbara, surely there's been some misunderstanding. There has been no misunderstanding. I witnessed it with my own eyes. I have video evidence. My son is an adulterer, and I am ashamed to call him mine. Jessica let out a sound like a dying animal. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold her dress together. Mrs. Thompson, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. Save your apologies for your maker, Barbara said coldly. You are dead to me, dead to my family, dead to every person who will hear what you've done. You can't tell people, Jessica gasped. Please, you can't. My job, my family, I can. I will. And I am starting with the prayer chain. Right now. Alex's face had gone from gray to green. The church prayer chain, Barbara's weapon of mass destruction, 200 people who would know by morning, 200 people who would spread the word like wildfire through their community, his parents' friends, his extended family, his colleagues who went to the same church, every person who'd attended our wedding. Every person who'd watched him grow up, who'd bragged about his success, who'd thought he was such a good man, they'd all know by sunrise. "Mom, please," Alex said. "Please don't do this. We'll figure this out. I'll fix this. Just don't." "Fix this?" Barbara's voice was ice. "How do you propose to fix this, Alexander? How do you fix breaking the heart of the woman who gave up her career for you, who raised your children while you built your success? Who trusted you with everything she had?" She stepped closer to him. 5 feet of righteous fury in sensible shoes. "You don't fix this. You live with it, you pay for it, and you learn what it feels like to be ashamed." Alex tried to touch my arm. I stepped back so fast he nearly stumbled. Baby, we can talk about this. We can go to counseling, we can—" "Don't you dare touch me," I said quietly. "Don't you dare ever touch me again. But the kids, we'll see you with supervised visitation after the papers are filed." His face twisted. "You can't keep my children from me." I smiled. "Watch me." Barbara ended the call with Pastor John and immediately started texting. I could see it from where I stood, messages flying out to the prayer chain, to her sisters, to Alex's father who was traveling for work. Each message just, "Call me immediately." "Family emergency." Within 5 minutes, her phone was ringing. She answered each call the same way. "My son has committed adultery with his wife's best friend. In their home. Yes, I'm certain. Yes, I have proof. No, there's no mistake." Alex sank down onto my stairs, head in his hands. Jessica was crying so hard she couldn't breathe, gasping and hiccuping. "Please," she whispered to me. "Please, Em, I'm so sorry, I never meant." "You never meant what?" I asked calmly. "You never meant to fuck my husband? You never meant for me to find out? You never meant to get caught? I didn't mean to hurt you." "Yes, you did. You meant every second of it. You just didn't mean for me to know." She couldn't look at me. Couldn't meet my eyes. Just stood there sobbing while mascara ran down her face and dripped onto my floor. "Get out," I said finally. "Both of you." "Emily," Alex tried. "You have 30 seconds before I call the police and tell them you're trespassing. 29, 28. They left. Alex in his sweatpants and wet t-shirt, Jessica in her wrinkled red dress and bare feet, both of them walking out my front door into the cool October night while Barbara and I stood on the porch and watched. Alex turned back once. Please." I closed the door in his face, locked it, dead bolt, chain, every lock I had. Barbara and I stood in my entryway, silent, while her phone continued to ring. She answered each call mechanically, told the same story. Let the news spread like poison through every social circle they'd ever had. Then she hugged me, just walked over and wrapped her tiny arms around me and held on so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "I'm so sorry, Emily, I'm so sorry. I raised him better than this." "I know you did," I whispered into her gray hair. "That's why I called you." "I'm not leaving you alone with this mess," she said firmly. "I'm staying. Tonight. Tomorrow. However long you need me." She moved in the next day, brought 2 suitcases and her good china, took over the guest room, became Grams to the kids when they came home from Kelly's and asked where Daddy was. "Daddy made some bad choices," I told them. "He's going to stay somewhere else for a while." Lily asked if it was her fault. Ethan asked if Daddy still loved him. I held them both and promised them this wasn't about them, that they were loved, that everything would be okay. Barbara backed me up. "Your daddy loves you very much, but sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, big ones." The kids accepted it the way kids do, with questions, but not resistance. They trusted us. They knew we'd protect them. And we would. No matter what it cost. Alex showed up 3 days later. It was Tuesday morning. The kids were at school. Barbara was at the grocery store. I was alone in my house for the first time since Thursday night, trying to figure out how to breathe in this space that had become a crime scene, a battlefield, a graveyard for my marriage. I heard his car in the driveway. That Audi I'd helped him pick out. My stomach turned over. I met him on the porch. Didn't let him inside. Stood in the doorway with my hand on the frame like I was blocking a vampire from entering. He looked awful. Dark circles under his eyes, 3 days of stubble, wrinkled shirt. The karma was beautiful. He said. His voice was rough. "Please, we need to talk." We don't need to do anything. You need to leave. I want to see my kids. They're at school. Then I'll wait. No, you won't. My voice was ice. You'll see them with supervised visitation after the papers are filed. He'd brought flowers, grocery store roses, still wrapped in plastic. Like a $3 bouquet could fix 6 months of betrayal. Emily, please, I know I fucked up. I know. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can. Fix this? I laughed. Actually laughed. You think this is fixable? You fucked my best friend. In our shower, in our bed, while I was raising your children and managing your life and being the perfect wife. It was a mistake. It was 6 months of mistakes, hundreds of choices. Every time you looked at me and lied. Every time you came home smelling like her. Every time you kissed me goodnight after being inside her. He flinched. You don't get to fix this, I continued. You get to live with it. His face twisted, anger bleeding through the desperation. There it was. The real Alex, the one who didn't like being told no. You can't keep my children from me, Emily. I have rights. I'm their father. I smiled. Watch me. I'll get a lawyer. Get the best one you can afford. I already have mine, and she's going to destroy you. He took a step forward. I stood my ground. This is my house, he said. No, it's our house, and you don't live here anymore. You live in a studio apartment because your mother kicked you out of her house too. How's that working out for you? My mother will come around. No, she won't. She changed her will. Did she tell you that? Everything goes to me and the kids now. You're out, completely. The color drained from his face. She wouldn't. She did. Called her lawyer Friday morning. It's done. He stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe the Emily he'd married, the one who folded his laundry and smiled through the pain, was dead. Good riddance to her. Leave, Alex. Now, before I call the police. He left the flowers on the porch. Drove away. I waited until his car disappeared around the corner. Then I threw the roses in the garbage and went back inside. Jessica started texting from new numbers when I blocked the first one. Please let me explain. It was a mistake. We never meant to hurt you. He manipulated me. I was lonely and he took advantage. Each message more desperate than the last. I screenshot every single one. Sent them to her mother with a simple message. Thought you should know what your daughter has been doing. Sent them to her boss with, this is what Jessica does with married men during work hours. Sent them to her entire contact list, every person I could find from her Facebook friends with, just so everyone knows what kind of person she really is. 3 hours later, Jessica's mother called me. Emily, I am so sorry. I had no idea. If I'd known. Now you know, I said calmly. She's devastated. She says she's made a terrible mistake. She made hundreds of terrible mistakes. For 6 months. I don't care if she's devastated. She lost her job today. Good. Silence on the other end. Then, you're not the girl I remember. No, I agreed. I'm not. That girl is dead. I hung up. Jessica lost her apartment 2 weeks later. Turns out she'd been paying rent late for months using Alex's credit card. I found the statements. I still had access to our joint account, which Alex apparently forgot about in his panic. I reported the fraud, filed a police report, pressed charges. You're going after her for credit card fraud? Jennifer asked during one of our meetings. I'm going after her for everything, I replied. Alex's family group chat, the one with his parents, his sister, his cousins, everyone exploded. His sister Rachel, I can't believe you did this to Emily. She gave up everything for you. His father, you disgust me. His cousin, Mike, don't contact me again. His Aunt Linda, I'm ashamed to call you family. One by one, they turned on him, chose me over him, told him he was dead to them. Alex called me sobbing. You're destroying my entire life. No, I said calmly. You destroyed your own life. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. Barbara's church prayer chain did its work. Within a week, everyone in their social circle knew. Alex's colleagues at work found out when Barbara's friend's husband, who worked in the same building, mentioned it to HR. Nothing illegal. Nothing they could fire him for. But suddenly he was getting passed over for projects. Not invited to after-work drinks. Whispered about in hallways. His reputation, carefully built over years, crumbled in days. By week 3, the scoreboard was clear. Jessica, no job, no apartment, living with her parents in Ohio. Facebook posts about fake friends and betrayal, getting 3 likes from people who had no idea what she'd done. Alex. Studio apartment. 10-year-old Civic because I'd started paperwork to get the Audi in the settlement. Ostracized by his family, whispered about at work, cut out of his mother's will. Me. Still in my house, kids safe with Barbara's help, Jennifer Morrison preparing to crucify him in court. But we weren't done yet. Not even close. The real war was about to begin. The divorce papers were filed 3 weeks after the shower incident. Jennifer hand-delivered them to Alex's office. During a meeting, in front of his colleagues. She told me later he'd gone white, excused himself, and didn't come back for 2 hours. Good. Alex hired a lawyer within 48 hours of being served. Marcus Webb, expensive suit, slicked back hair, reputation for winning custody battles for wealthy fathers. The kind of lawyer who believed money could buy anything. He was about to learn it couldn't buy this. Jennifer called me after their first meeting. He's coming in aggressive. Wants to fight for the house, 50-50 custody, no alimony. His lawyer thinks we're bluffing about the evidence. Let him think that, I said. You sure? We could end this faster if we show our hand now. No, let Alex think he has a chance. Let him spend money on billable hours. Let him dig himself deeper. I could hear Jennifer smile through the phone. You're vicious, I love it. The depositions started in week 6. I sat across from Marcus Webb in a conference room that cost more per hour than I used to make in a day, and I watched him try to tear me apart. Mrs. Thompson. Isn't it true that you've been struggling with depression? No. But you quit your job, isolated yourself at home. That sounds like depression to me. Jennifer didn't even look up from her notes. Is opposing counsel a licensed psychiatrist now? I must have missed that on his credentials. Marcus's jaw tightened. Mrs. Thompson, your husband provided for you financially for years. Don't you think he deserves some consideration for that? He provided financially while I provided everything else, I said calmly. I raised his children, managed his home, supported his career. I gave up my own career so he could build his. That's called a partnership, not charity. A partnership? Marcus leaned forward. Then why are you asking for 70% of marital assets? That doesn't sound like equal partnership to me. Because he violated the terms of that partnership when he committed adultery with my best friend for 6 months. I'd say 70% is generous. Marcus changed tactics. Let's talk about Jessica Martin. Isn't it true that you've been harassing her, contacting her employer, her family, spreading rumors? I spread facts, not rumors. There's a difference. You got her fired. No. Her own actions got her fired. I simply made sure her employer knew she'd been using company time to conduct an affair with a married man. You reported her for credit card fraud. Because she committed credit card fraud, would you prefer I let her keep stealing? Marcus was getting flustered. Good. Mrs. Thompson, this vindictive behavior doesn't paint you as a fit primary custodian. Jennifer slammed her hand on the table. Not hard. Just enough to make a point. My client caught her husband and her best friend in her shower. In her home. After months of lies and betrayal. Her behavior isn't vindictive, it's justice. And if you're trying to argue that a woman standing up for herself makes her unfit to parent, we're going to have a very long conversation about sexist double standards. Marcus shut up. Alex's deposition was a disaster for him. Mr. Thompson, how long was your affair with Miss Martin? It wasn't an affair. It was a mistake. A 6-month mistake? We never meant it just happened. Jennifer looked at him over her reading glasses. Things just happen once, Mr. Thompson. Hotel reservations just happened dozens of times. Which was it? Alex squirmed. I don't remember exactly how many times. You don't remember how many times you betrayed your wife? His lawyer objected. Jennifer withdrew the question. But the damage was done. Did you use marital funds to pay for these hotel rooms? Yes, I suppose. Joint credit cards that your wife paid off every month while managing your household budget? Yes, but so your wife was unknowingly financing your affair with her best friend? Alex went gray. I didn't think about it that way. No, I don't imagine you did much thinking at all. Jessica tried to testify, showed up at depositions uninvited, claiming she was a material witness to the state of our marriage. Marcus tried to use her. Miss Martin, in your observation, how would you describe the Thompson marriage? They were struggling, Jessica said, her voice shaky. Emily was always tired, always stressed. Alex felt neglected. So you decided to help him feel less neglected? Jennifer interrupted. That's not no. By sleeping with him? In his wife's home, in his wife's bed? Some friendship. Jessica started crying. The court reporter didn't even pause in her typing. Miss Martin, Jennifer continued, isn't it true that you've been charged with credit card fraud? That was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding where you used Mr. Thompson's credit card without authorization to pay your rent for 4 months? He said I could. Do you have that in writing? Silence. Miss Martin, did you or did you not tell Mrs. Thompson? And I quote, "You're such a good friend. I don't deserve you while actively sleeping with her husband." Jessica couldn't answer. Just sobbed. Your testimony is noted, Jennifer said coldly, and discarded as completely biased and self-serving. We're done here. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday in November. Cold, gray, rain threatening all morning. I spent the previous week preparing with Jennifer. Evidence binders organized by date. Timeline of the affair printed and highlighted. Financial records showing every hotel charge, every unexplained expense. Phone records, text message, screenshots, emails, and the videos. The nanny cam footage from the bedroom, the footage from the shower. All time-stamped, all crystal clear, all absolutely damning. You ready for this? Jennifer asked me the night before. I've been ready since the day I found those texts, I said. I walked into the courtroom at 9 a.m. wearing a navy suit Barbara had taken me shopping for, professional, composed, unbreakable. Alex was already there with Marcus. He looked terrible, thinner, older, worn down. Good. He tried to catch my eye. I looked straight through him. Barbara sat in the gallery, hands folded in her lap, rosary beads threaded through her fingers. She'd told me she was praying for the judge to see the truth. I told her I didn't need prayer. I had evidence. Judge Sarah Hendricks took the bench at 9:15. 60-something, gray hair pulled back severely, reading glasses on a chain. She looked like someone who'd seen every possible variation of human stupidity and had exactly zero patience for it. Marcus went first, painted Alex as a devoted father, a good provider, a man who'd made one mistake and deserved a second chance. Argued that I was being vindictive and unreasonable, that 50-50 custody was in the children's best interest, that the house should be sold and assets split evenly. He was confident, cocky even, thought his expensive suit and smooth words would carry the day. Then it was Jennifer's turn. She stood up slowly, buttoned her jacket, looked at Judge Hendricks with a small, knowing smile. Your Honor, we have video evidence. Alex's face went white. Marcus shot to his feet. Your Honor, we weren't informed of any video. We disclosed all evidence in discovery, Counselor, Jennifer said calmly. Perhaps you should read more carefully. Judge Hendricks looked interested. What kind of video, Miss Morrison? Security camera footage from my client's home. Specifically, footage that irrefutably proves Mr. Thompson's adultery occurred not just once, but repeatedly, in the marital home, in the marital bed, while my client was caring for their children. Your Honor, Marcus was scrambling. The admissibility of such footage. Was it recorded in the plaintiff's own home, Counselor? Yes, but then it's admissible. I'll allow it. Jennifer set up her laptop. The bailiff dimmed the lights. The screen flickered to life. And there they were. Alex and Jessica in my bedroom. Timestamp. 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. Crystal clear footage of them laughing, kissing, undressing each other. Her pushing him onto the bed, my bed, him pulling her on top of him. I watched Judge Hendricks's face, watched disgust dawn there, watched her mouth tighten into a thin line. Your Honor, I object, Marcus tried. Overruled. Continue, Miss Morrison. Jennifer played 3 more clips. Different dates. Same location. Same two people. Same betrayal. In the gallery, Barbara was praying audibly, "Hail Mary, full of grace," over and over. Alex had his head in his hands. Couldn't watch. Couldn't look at the screen where his choices were playing out in high definition. The last video ended. Jennifer closed her laptop. "Your Honor, Mr. Thompson didn't just commit adultery, he did it in his wife's home, in her bed, using marital funds, while she was caring for their children, while she was being, by all accounts, an exemplary mother and wife." She pulled out a folder. "We're asking for full primary custody with supervised visitation for Mr. Thompson. We're asking that Mrs. Thompson retain the marital home, the home she's made for their children, the home Mr. Thompson violated. We're asking for child support and alimony commensurate with Mr. Thompson's six-figure salary, and we're asking for a 70-30 split of retirement assets in Mrs. Thompson's favor due to emotional damages and economic harm caused by Mr. Thompson's choices." Marcus was pale. "Your Honor, this is excessive. This isn't fair." Alex burst out, standing up. "She's trying to destroy me. Mr. Thompson, sit down," Judge Hendricks said sharply. "But, Your Honor, I made a mistake. I admit that, but she's taking everything. Sit down." Alex sat. Judge Hendricks looked at Marcus. "Counselor, does your client wish to address fairness?" "Your Honor, because I'm happy to discuss fairness. Miss Morrison?" Jennifer stood. "Let's discuss fairness, Your Honor. Is it fair that Mrs. Thompson gave up a career she loved, a career saving lives as an ER nurse to support Mr. Thompson's ambitions? Is it fair that she raised his children, managed his home, paid his bills, all while he was using her money to finance an affair? Is it fair that she trusted him with her entire life and he threw it away for a 6-month fling? Is it fair that she has to explain to her 6-year-old daughter why Daddy doesn't live with them anymore?" She turned to look at Alex. "Fairness, Mr. Thompson, would be you living with the consequences of your choices, which is exactly what my client is asking for." The courtroom was silent. Judge Hendricks removed her glasses, rubbed her eyes. "I've seen a lot in 20 years on this bench. Affairs, lies, betrayal. But Mr. Thompson, I have to say, conducting an affair in your wife's home, in her bed, while she was out caring for your children, that's a special kind of cruelty." "Your Honor," Marcus tried one last time. "I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. Mrs. Thompson will have full primary physical custody. Mr. Thompson will have supervised visitation pending evaluation. Mrs. Thompson retains the marital home. Mr. Thompson will pay child support and alimony, Miss Morrison. Submit your calculations to my clerk, and I'm awarding Mrs. Thompson 70% of marital retirement assets." She banged her gavel. "This court is adjourned." Alex collapsed back into his chair. Marcus was gathering papers frantically, already calculating his own exit strategy. I just sat there, perfectly still, perfectly calm. I'd won. Complete, total, absolute victory. Jennifer squeezed my hand. "Congratulations. You just got everything you asked for." Barbara was crying in the gallery. Happy tears this time. I stood up, smoothed my jacket, walked out of that courtroom with my head high and my heart finally starting to heal. Alex called after me in the hallway. "Emily, please." I kept walking. I didn't need to hear it anymore. The apologies, the excuses, the desperate attempts to salvage something from the wreckage. It was over, and I had won. Confrontation number 2, complete legal destruction. The gavel sound still echoed in my ears as I stood up from that courtroom table. Judge Hendricks had spoken. The ruling was final. Typed up by the court reporter, recorded for posterity, legally binding and absolutely devastating to the man I'd married 10 years ago. Full primary physical custody to me. The house, my house now, not ours, stayed with me. Child support calculated on his 6-figure salary. Alimony for 5 years, also based on what he made while I'd been home raising his children. And that retirement account he'd been building since before we met, 70-30 split in my favor. Emotional damages, Judge Hendricks had called it. I called it justice. Alex sat at the defense table like someone had physically beaten him. Shoulders hunched, head down, hands gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles were white. His expensive lawyer, the one who'd cost him probably $30,000 so far, was already packing his briefcase, already calculating his own exit strategy from this sinking ship. Marcus didn't even look at his client, just snapped his briefcase shut and walked out. Professional courtesy only went so far, apparently. In the gallery, Barbara was crying. Not sad tears. Not angry tears. Proud tears. Vindicated tears. The tears of a woman who'd chosen right over blood and watched justice prevail. And in the back corner, trying to be invisible, was Jessica. She'd shown up. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity, misplaced loyalty to Alex, some sick need to witness the final destruction of what they'd built together. Whatever the reason, she sat there in a cheap coat I didn't recognize, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, looking 10 years older than she had 3 months ago. Our eyes met across the courtroom. I smiled at her. That same cold, dead smile I'd perfected over 3 months of pretending. She looked away first. Always did. Always would. Jennifer squeezed my shoulder. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected. No. She shook her head. You did this. I just showed the judge what you'd already proven, that you're stronger than anyone gave you credit for. I picked up my purse. My evidence binder, I'd keep that. Frame it maybe, hang it somewhere as a reminder. My phone where I'd recorded everything. I walked toward the courtroom exit with my head high and my spine straight, and my heart finally beating something other than rage. Barbara met me in the aisle. Hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. So incredibly proud. Thank you, I whispered back. For everything. For choosing me. You made it easy, sweetheart. You were always worth choosing. We walked out together. Jennifer behind us. A small army of women who'd refused to let cruelty win. The hallway was marble and echoing, high ceilings that made every sound bounce around. My heels clicked on the floor. Confident, steady, the sound of someone who'd won. Emily, Alex's voice behind me. Desperate. Broken. I didn't stop walking. Emily, please, we need to talk. Didn't slow down. You can't just take everything. The kids need their father. I stopped then. Turned slowly. Looked at him. He looked destroyed. Suit rumpled, tie askew, eyes red like he'd been crying or like he hadn't slept in weeks. Probably both. Good. You need what, Alex? My voice was calm, cold. You need me to what? Feel sorry for you? Forgive you? Let you off easy? I need you to understand. I understand perfectly. You wanted to fuck my best friend more than you wanted to keep your family. You made that choice, hundreds of times, for 6 months. People were staring now. Other lawyers, court staff, people waiting for their own hearings. Let them stare. I made a mistake. No, a mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. This was a choice. A deliberate, calculated, sustained choice to betray me in the worst possible way. Jessica had come out into the hallway, standing 20 feet away, watching, always too cowardly to actually engage. I looked at her. You want to add anything? Want to tell me again how it was a mistake? How he manipulated you? How you never meant to hurt me? She opened her mouth, closed it, shook her head. That's what I thought. I turned back to Alex. For the last time. The absolute last time. You're gonna live with this, Alex. Every single day. Every time you pick up our kids for your supervised visits. Every time you write that alimony check. Every time you drive your shitty car past the house that used to be yours. You're going to remember that you had everything and you threw it away, Emily. I'm done. We're done. You're done. I walked past him without another word. Barbara on one side, Jennifer on the other. He called after me one more time. I still love you. I didn't turn around, didn't respond, just kept walking, because that was the final confrontation. Not the courtroom, not the verdict, not even the locked bathroom door. It was this: me walking away from him while he begged. Me refusing to engage. Me showing him that he no longer had any power over me whatsoever. Complete and total victory. We walked out of the courthouse into cold November air. The rain had started light, misty. The kind that soaks you slowly without you noticing. "Where to now?" Jennifer asked. I took a deep breath. First breath of my new life. "Home," I said. "I'm going home. To my house. My kids. My life. Without him in it." Finally, 6 months after the verdict, I checked Alex's Facebook for the first time in weeks. I'd made myself stop checking obsessively. The constant monitoring of his downfall had been satisfying but exhausting. I'd needed to let go, to stop caring what he was doing or where he was or how he was suffering. But sometimes, just sometimes, I'd allow myself a peek. A little reminder of what happened when you fucked with the wrong woman. His profile picture was old. From our wedding. He hadn't updated it, probably because any new photo would show the truth, that he'd aged a decade in 6 months. No new posts, no updates, just silence. But I had other sources. Barbara's friend Margaret, whose daughter worked at Alex's company, reported that he'd been reassigned. Corporate speak for demoted, pushed from VP of something important to senior manager of something meaningless. Same company, different floor, smaller office, title that meant he'd peaked and everyone knew it. "Office affair rumors," Margaret had said delicately. "You know how these things get around." I knew. I'd made sure they got around. His apartment, I'd driven past it once, just to see. Studio in a building that advertised efficiency living, which was code for tiny and cheap. His Audi was gone. Repossessed when he couldn't make the payments after the settlement. Now he drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper. The same kind of car I'd driven when we first met, when I was working ER shifts and barely making rent. The symmetry was beautiful. Barbara reported from her weekly check-ins with him because despite everything, she was still his mother, that he was struggling, couldn't afford decent groceries, behind on utilities, living paycheck to paycheck after child support, alimony, and his own rent ate through his salary. He asked if I could loan him money, Barbara had told me, her voice flat. I said no. "Good," I'd replied. "He's my son, Emily." It's hard to watch him struggle. He made his choices. This is just him living with the consequences. Barbara had nodded, sad but accepting. "You're right. Of course you're right." Jessica's Facebook was more active. Desperately, pathetically active. She'd moved back to Ohio, living with her parents in the house she'd grown up in. Working at a gas station off the highway, I'd found her there on Google Maps Street View, could see the building. You could imagine her in a uniform vest, scanning lottery tickets and cigarettes for people who didn't know or care who she was. Her posts were a mix of inspirational quotes and barely concealed bitterness. Sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you most. 3 likes. Real friends don't stab you in the back. Fake friends show their true colors eventually. Starting over isn't easy, but it's necessary for growth. 2 likes. Nobody engaged, nobody commented, just pity likes from people who'd known her in high school and didn't know the full story. I'd thought about posting the full story. Thought about commenting on one of her sanctimonious posts with the truth. "You fucked your best friend's husband for 6 months and got caught. That's not starting over. That's facing consequences." But I didn't, because the truth was worse than anything I could post. The truth was that she'd destroyed her own life, and everyone knew it, and nobody cared enough to even properly hate her. She was just nothing. A cautionary tale. A woman who'd made bad choices and was living in her parents' basement at 36 years old, working minimum wage. I tracked their downfall periodically, not obsessively, just occasionally, like checking the weather, confirming that yes, it's still raining on them. Yes, they're still drowning. Yes, the universe is still serving justice. Alex, diminished career, tiny apartment, decade-old car, supervised visits with the kids every other weekend where they came home talking about how Daddy's new place is small and Daddy seems sad. Jessica, gas station job, parents' basement, Facebook posts that screamed desperation, 3 likes from people who barely remembered her. Me. Everything they lost. They didn't just lose me, they lost everything. Their reputations, their families, their futures, their dignity. And I had built something new from the ashes of what they'd burned. They say the best revenge is living well. They're right. But the second best revenge is occasionally checking to make sure the people who wronged you are living badly. And they were. God! They really were. I went back to nursing 8 months after the divorce was finalized. Not the ER, I couldn't go back there. Too many memories of the person I used to be. The girl who'd worked herself to exhaustion while dreaming of a future that turned out to be a lie. Instead, I went into labor and delivery. Night shift. 12-hour shifts, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 3 nights a week. Better pay than day shift. Fewer administrators breathing down your neck. And something about bringing new life into the world felt right. Felt like balance. I was good at it. Still had the skills, the steady hands, the calm in crisis, the ability to read a room and know exactly what a patient needed before they asked. "You're a natural," my supervisor said after my first month. "Where have you been hiding?" "Taking care of someone else's life," I replied. "Now I'm taking care of my own." Barbara watched the kids on the nights I worked. She'd moved in permanently after the divorce sold her house, moved all her furniture into my guest room, became Graham's full-time. The kids loved it. So did I. We were our own little matriarchy. 3 generations of women and 2 kids who were learning that families come in all configurations. My first real paycheck, my money, earned by my work, deposited into my account, hit on a Friday. I added it to the alimony check that had arrived that morning. Alex's money, court-ordered, transferred automatically on the 1st of every month. His 6-figure salary paying for the life he'd destroyed. The combined total was substantial. I went car shopping that afternoon. The red convertible was sitting in the lot like it had been waiting for me. Mazda Miata, cherry red, leather interior, manual transmission, impractical and loud and absolutely perfect. "You sure about this?" the salesman asked. "It's not exactly a mom car." "I'm not exactly a typical mom," I replied. I paid cash. The whole thing. Walked out with the keys and the title and drove home with the top down even though it was only 50 degrees outside. Barbara was waiting on the porch when I pulled into the driveway. The kids were at school. Just her, watching me arrive in this ridiculous, beautiful, completely mine car. I turned off the engine. Sat there, grinning like an idiot. "Emily Thompson," Barbara said, walking over. "That is the most impractical vehicle I've ever seen." "I know," I said, still grinning. "Isn't it perfect?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "You look like yourself again." For the first time in years. I got out and hugged her. I feel like myself again. That night, after the kids were in bed, I took that car out on the highway. Top down, music up, wind whipping my hair into a disaster I'd have to fix later. And I screamed. Just screamed into the wind. All the rage and pain and betrayal I'd been holding in for months. All the times I'd smiled when I wanted to cry. All the nights I'd lain next to Alex, pretending everything was fine. All the moments I'd swallowed my pride and played perfect wife while my world crumbled. I screamed until my throat hurt. Until I couldn't make sound anymore. Until the poison was out and all that was left was clean air and starlight and freedom. I'm not the same woman who folded laundry while her husband fucked her best friend in the next room. I'm not the woman who gave up her career and her identity and her life for a man who didn't deserve it. I'm not the woman who smiled through the pain and kept quiet and played nice. I'm the woman who locked the door. I'm the woman who called his mother. I'm the woman who documented everything, hired the best lawyer money could buy, and burned their whole world down with surgical precision. I'm colder now, harder, less trusting. I don't make friends easily. I don't let people get close. I've got walls up that would make prison look welcoming, but I'm also stronger, more confident, more sure of who I am and what I deserve. I started dating again around month 10. Nothing serious, just testing the waters, seeing what it felt like to be wanted by someone who didn't know the old me, Who only knew this version, the nurse with the red convertible and the steel spine and the zero tolerance for bullshit. The men who earn my time now are different. They ask questions. They listen to answers. They don't assume. They don't take. They understand that I'm not looking for someone to complete me, I'm already complete. I'm looking for someone who can keep up. Most can't. That's fine. I'm not settling anymore. The kids are thriving. Lily is in therapy dealing with the divorce, with her dad's absence, with the confusion of why families fall apart. She's doing well. Learning that sometimes people make bad choices and you love them anyway, but you don't have to accept their behavior. Ethan is quieter. Watches everything, asks deep questions that shouldn't come from a 5-year-old mouth. Why did Daddy hurt you, Mommy? I told him the truth, age-appropriate version. Daddy made bad choices, baby, and choices have consequences. That's an important thing to learn. I'm never going to hurt someone I love, he said seriously. Good, I replied. Hold on to that. Barbara teaches them things I can't. Patience. Forgiveness, not for Alex, but for themselves. Faith in something bigger than anger. The ability to move forward without forgetting what brought you here. We're building something new. The 3 of us? 4, counting the kids as one unit. A family that's stronger for being broken and rebuilt. Some nights I still drive that red convertible with the top down and scream into the wind. But now? Now I'm screaming with joy. So if you're watching this right now and you've been betrayed, if someone you trusted took your love and twisted it into something ugly, I need you to hear this. You don't have to scream. You don't have to beg. You don't have to fall apart or lose your mind or become someone you're not. You just have to be smarter. You have to be patient. And when the moment comes when they get comfortable, when they get sloppy, when they think they've gotten away with it, you lock the damn door. Then you call the one person they're more afraid of than you. Because revenge isn't always loud. It isn't always dramatic. It doesn't have to be screaming or throwing things or dramatic confrontations that solve nothing. Sometimes revenge is just a click, a locked door, a phone call, 3 tools and unlimited patience. Sometimes revenge is documentation, screenshots, videos, evidence collected while you smile and play along. Sometimes, revenge is letting the legal system do what it was designed to do, hold people accountable for their choices. I didn't break the law. I didn't hurt anyone physically. I didn't do anything except refuse to be silent about what they'd done. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. That's not vindictive. That's justice. My husband wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Wanted the perfect wife at home and the exciting mistress on the side. Wanted me to keep building his life while he destroyed mine. My best friend wanted my life without putting in the work. Wanted my husband, my home, my family, everything I'd built handed to her because she was too scared to build her own. They both learned something important. You don't get to steal someone's life and then act surprised when they take everything back. Tell me in the comments if this happened to you, who would you have called? Whose opinion would have destroyed them most? Their mother, their boss, their entire social circle? Who's the one person that your betrayer fears more than anything? Because that's your weapon. That's your nuclear option. And when the time is right, you use it. And here's the thing, nobody tells you about revenge. It's not the destination, it's the journey. It's every small victory along the way. Every dollar you hide. Every piece of evidence you collect. Every moment you smile while planning their downfall. The final verdict was satisfying. But you know what was more satisfying? The 3 months I spent playing perfect wife while building my case. The look on Alex's face when he realized the door was locked. The sound of Barbara's voice when she said, "You will never speak my name again." Those moments, those small, perfect moments of control when you realize you're not the victim anymore. You're the hunter. If this story helped you feel even a little bit stronger today, if it showed you that betrayal doesn't have to break you, that you can come back from being destroyed, that you're allowed to fight back, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you want more stories about people who refused to stay victims, who fought back smart instead of fighting back loud. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been betrayed and thinks they have to just accept it. Someone who's been told to forgive and forget when what they really need is permission to fight back. Because you're not weak for being kind, you're not naive for trusting, you're not stupid for believing in someone's love. You're just waiting for the right moment to be dangerous. And when that moment comes, when you've gathered your evidence and built your case and assembled your weapons, you strike. Clean, surgical, devastating. And you walk away from the wreckage without looking back. I'm Emily Thompson. I locked the door. I called his mother. I won. And if you're in a situation where you need to fight back, you can win too. Stay smart, my loves. Stay patient. Stay ruthless. Emily out.